The tactical issues, yes. The fundamental problems that Uganda is facing today, like the lack of the public spirit in public service, are not a side effect of Uganda's reform process that can be fixed. I think they were produced by the very system that created the economic success. You know, when Uganda started reforms, the ideology was that we must shift the control of the economy from the state to the private sector, from politics to the market. Decisions must be made based on market rationality rather than based on political decisions. So we privatized public enterprises. We liberalized the economy, deregulated many sectors of the economy. And the justification for those actions was that governments, this was an ideological position the government of Uganda took. Governments are inherently corrupt and incompetent. They cannot manage businesses. They cannot manage many things. That's why we should hand them over to the private sector, which is in itself not a very bad idea. But the justification of privatization and liberalization as because states are inherently corrupt and incompetent created a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because for then, if a person governing a state parastatal was incompetent, the solution was not to transfer them or to fire them. It was to privatize the enterprise. If officials of a particular state enterprise were corrupt, then they say that is inevitable because of state ownership. The best solution is to privatize. Now, what has emerged over the years within the management of the state is that individuals in the government can be incompetent, can be corrupt, and there is no punishment to them because that is inevitable, that is what is expected. The second thing was democratization. Theoretically, it's a very good thing, but democratization came with its own costs. Let me give you an example. Before we democratized, before Museveni was subject to elections, he used to be the Speaker of Parliament. Chigongo was his deputy. If there was a major piece of legislation that Museveni needed to pass, which was controversial, he would don his military fatigues, call a closed session of the NRSC, literally ram his vision or his policy through Parliament. When we started elections and Parliament was made so powerful, now Museveni has to invite members of Parliament to Parliament, serve them tea, bribe them, pay this. So the marketization of the economy was followed by the marketization of politics. Now, unless you have money to buy MPs, you can't get a vote. Every single thing became for sale. Public jobs became for sale. Even appointments to meet the president now are sold on a public auction. You can pay $50,000 or $100,000, whatever it is you're looking for. You get an appointment to the president or you get a blue letter from him. I mean, the systemic destruction of the public ethic or the public spirit in public service has been so thoroughgoing and comprehensive that I wonder whether it will be possible any longer to rescue Uganda. In fact, I've been thinking, who will be interested in the management of Uganda, making it a better place? Let me give you an example. In the year 2017, 2018, ADB gave us money, about $288 million to do roads in Kampala. In the year 2020, we actually gave out contracts. It's now 2025. These contracts were awarded 5 years ago. They have started construction. The construction has been going on, like me, I live in Luzira, for the last 2 years. There is no progress on it. The contractor who got the contract does not have the capacity to do the work. In fact, that contractor bidded below cost. The KCCA people at the time didn't notice that the money he was bidding to do the road was below what was capable. But you could not award the contract to a person, the second highest bidder. You had to do the lowest bidder. So they wrote to ADB saying, we would rather you give us, because ADB, the funder, has rules. You have to give the lowest bidder. But they wrote to ADB saying, please, can you allow us to vary this? Because this, the lowest bidder is joking. The money he's bidded for is too low. ADB refused. There was nobody in Uganda to call ADB, because ADB, we are shareholders in ADB. We have a bigger say there. There was no one to carry the torch and say, ADB, please, save us from this contractor. One time, the consultant on that road to Luzira, the road to 6th Street, 8th Street, 7th Street, 5th Street, was not even signing the completion certificates of the contractor, and I think the two must have been colluding. For months and months, there was no work. I went to KCC, what is happening? The consultant said he's not signing, that's why we can't pay the contractor cannot do the work. I had to go to Kasaija. Imagine me, a private citizen, go to Kasaija. Can we call ADB? Can we have a meeting? They called ADB. The ADB. Finally, we had to appeal to ADB president. I think Kasaija Matia is a governor there, to fire a consultant here. And my own suspicion, even then and now, is that the contractor was colluding with the consultant not to sign the certificate so that he's not paid. When he's not paid, we pay the man prolongation cost because it's us government. Our government consultant is delaying him. So if he goes 6 months without work, every day we pay a daily rate for all the equipment, all the stuff he has there. He's not doing any work for us, we are paying, right? So he can compensate. If you're a contractor, it is easy for you to compensate for the low bid with prolongation costs. You can delay the project and then claim it's the government that is causing it because of its consultant, and then you are paid huge prolongation costs. So I every day ask myself, who is there to promote Uganda's national interest, to ensure that this result comes? I told you last time, in 2015, I chaired the investor conference on the Jinja-Kampala Expressway. Construction was supposed to begin in 2019 and be finished in 2023. It's now 2025. It is last December that they issued RFPs, a request for proposals. I mean, if you commence a project in 2015, by 2020 you have not yet even started. SGR, when did it start? 2012? We are now 2025. They just signed a contract. After 13 years, trust me, they will finish construction maybe in 2058 when Museveni is running for his 100th term. Then you have, right now we are about to run out of electricity. I can tell you in 2 years, Uganda is running out of electricity. If you take 17, we discovered oil, I think, in 2006. It's now coming to 20 years. We have not yet exported 1 liter of oil. Ghana discovered oil with us. They've been exporting since 2010. Do you see? So something in the government of Uganda, the ability to take the interests of the public seriously is not there.
Okay.
And for me, this is, listen carefully, my grandson Timothy. This is intriguing because the government of Uganda has a democratically elected government. You cannot even say, it is empirically, you cannot say that this is because you have people who are entrenched in power for so long, so they have lost, they are not accountable to the public. If you look at elections in Uganda, every election, Timothy, every election, about 67%, that is 2/3, 67% of incumbents in parliament, except from Museveni, in parliament, in local councils, are defeated. We have a high anti-incumbency bias. This current parliament, there are 529. Of them, only 105 were in the last parliament. So we have a high turnover of members of parliament. Why do these ministers who get elected, members of parliament, district councillors, all these elected officials, there are about 3 million elected officials in Uganda, why are they not responsive to the needs of the citizen? You live in Kampala. It has MPs, it has councillors, it has mayors all across the different divisions. This is one continuous garbage dump. We have free social media, free traditional media. We come here and complain. I ask, who holds that torch to say, I am the driver? Because essentially, I would imagine, in very bad circumstances, you need a president like Kagame is in Rwanda, who is directly committed that I will see the right thing done for the country. He's driving on a road, he sees garbage, he gets out of his car, puts on his gloves, calls his soldiers, they begin cleaning. Just imagine the president is doing that and you are the mayor of that town. For him, he has stopped over in your town and is busy cleaning garbage. What do? He's driving, there is a pothole on the road, he stops and calls the minister. You see, that person is not there, or those persons are not there. I don't know where the center of Uganda can be, because I think the public spirit, the public spirit in public service in Uganda is dead. So you have this expansion of private wealth. You can drive from Kampala to Namugongo, from Kampala all the way to Kiengera, to can drive to far away out of town. People are building beautiful homes, buying expensive cars, doing apartment blocks and shopping malls, and all this is explosion of a middle class, explosion of private wealth. But the other party, the state, who comes to provide roads, to provide healthcare, to provide education, to provide water and electricity, is actually either incompetent in doing so, except for water and electricity, but for other services, the state is either absent or incompetent. And for me, if you ask me, the worst legacy of Museveni's presidency is the destruction of the public spirit in public service.
Okay.
That we have lost a collective vision, so that public work has become everybody's out there for what is for their private gain rather than what is for the collective good.
One, yes, I agree with Chris, because I also did not only go to school, I'm schooled. When you're measuring indices, it is true that you look at this and that. If you're talking about GDP, if you're talking about per capita, you're comparing Sudiru Pareria and that man on the street who is not wearing shoes. And sometimes that research is misleading. You've got to accept as a fact that for us, we are looking at measurables. If you're telling a person like me who went to Cancer Institute just last week, and I saw people, the lucky ones were sleeping on mattresses. The lucky ones were sleeping down on mattresses. Others were getting paper, off the boxes of soap, etc., and sleeping on that with a drip on that. And this is not only in Cancer Institute, but literally the entire health sector is sick. I want to repeat, Chris, the health sector in Uganda is sick. We have the best professionals. We have the personnel. I think, as Andrew said, we have the best doctors, but they are not equipped. You can spend money in Lubowa where there are no results. You deny facilities, or, to those existing, tested and proven ones, and you say, we are making progress. It is true that we have had increased intakes. What are the outputs? You have people graduating in P7 who can barely read and write. Why? You can only afford to spend 3,000 on a child per term, and you're not embarrassed. You have a minister of education who is not fully dedicated to the ministry's service. For her deputy to meet her, he must have an appointment, he must undergo a COVID test, because she only sits at her matrimonial house. And you're saying you're making progress in education. I want to agree with Captain Babu that we must go back to where we started from. Try to look at what the colonialists left us with and see how we can refine that. Because we were not Uganda until the colonialists came. When they came, they bungled us together, different backgrounds, different ways of doing things, so we must sit. And that's why, for me, I am not uncomfortable within the setup of 1962 Constitution. Because 1962, we were trying to federate and cede some of the powers we wielded to a central authority to govern us. Now, when you talk about the theme, their theme of remembering and recognizing those that re-sanctified, I mean, where was the re-sanctification? Of course, I wanted to hear Lydia say, list those names: Tinyefunza, Dr. Besigye, Kale Kayihura, Kazini, Salim Saleh, etc. Name them and tell me where all of them are and how all of them have ended before you salute them. As you salute them, they are telling you, we left the rail that we came with. Why? As Captain Babu said, because some people chose to misbehave. Now, those that have misbehaved, we must agree, and this is one of the fundamentals, and I keep referring to Captain Babu, those are the fundamentals. You may even forget about the individuals and ask a question. If people deviate and walk away with our money, how do we deal with them? If you employ people who are not qualified for the job, how do we deal with you? I mean, I always get offended when people talk about, you employ people from different sub-regions because of ethnicity. You mean in those ethnic communities, there are no qualified and competent persons? But you go and employ, because this one gave me cassava when I was fighting. I mean, they also ate my cassava. when they were fighting. If you go to those communities, choose the best. But you bring us people who cannot even swear in parliament. Why? And you tell me those are the ones that have come from their communities. They are better qualified and competent people that can run this country. But besides, you're talking about attrition rates at parliament and in government. There is one common denominator, at least, who has not been affected by that attrition rate. Why do we continue to fail in what we do? Yet for him, he's always there. And he's holding the steering. My problem is that, my issue is that, probably we need to change that one. Captain Babu talked about Lee Kuan Yew. How did he go? He actually resigned and said, I want to hand over to a younger generation. There was a man, I think, called Go Check Teng Tong. He handed over to. This one knows those names because he belongs to a younger generation. He said, by the way, I think I have ruled. Let me go. I'm old. Let me hand over. That's what President Nyerere did. Actually, they told him, no, you can't go. You do not have a good replacement. He said, if for all these years I do not have a good replacement, then I'm a bad leader. And he told them, I am going. He said, one of you must come up. And they started coming up. So, to sum it all, I think the NRMs have reason to celebrate. I mean, Timothy, even if you're a thief and you succeed, you will celebrate. It does not mean that you're celebrating for the rest of the community or that the community is celebrating with you.